thanks to everyone for making time to attend this presentation. So I'm Suhaas Kodagali. I'm the Director of Product Management at Skyhigh Security. And today we're going to talk about how to look at cloud security and securing your cloud apps, including AI apps, and how to look at it holistically. Enterprise cloud usage is growing significantly. I think we can all agree to that. But we are seeing data based on customer traffic that points to very clear metrics in this department. First, we're seeing an increase in the number of cloud apps, which means we maintain a registry of over 45,000 cloud applications, and the pace with which we are adding new apps has grown significantly. In fact, even in the AI category, the number of apps that we have added, it has increased 4 times in the last 6 months. Right? Which means the number of apps are increasing. The customer traffic to these apps is also increasing. Right? Just compared to 2 years ago to now, customers are sending up a lot more cloud traffic. And the data that's getting uploaded to these apps is also grown, which means corporate data is going into these cloud apps, and security practitioners are looking for how we're able to apply controls on this. So, again, like I said, the question that I've gotten asked more than anything else in the last 2 days, how can I secure my AI apps, right? And I can spend an entire session just talking about this, but I'll try to be brief. And there are really 3 parts to this. First is getting visibility, right? Getting visibility into which AI apps are being used in the enterprise is the first step. And we have in our registry over 900 cloud applications. And for enterprise customers, we are able to show which apps are being used, which users are using these apps, and what is the extent of usage, how much data is going up, how much traffic is going up to these apps. That's visibility. That is really the first step in being able to secure these your cloud apps or AI apps. The second part is the governance. Right? This is where you assess the risk of an AI app. We show you a number of attributes based on which you can assess whether an AI app is risky or not. For example, does it use an LLM model? How secure is the LLM model? Does it have other attributes like authentication? What are its compliance certifications? So based on the number of risk attributes, you're able to determine whether an AI app is risky or what is the extent of risk, and is this something that you're willing to allow within your enterprise. The last step is control. Now, control we really hear it in 3 flavors. First, I want to block all AI apps. Right? There are some companies, until we understand this better, we're just going to blanket block everything. We hear that. That's just allow block. But there are some who say, hey, we want to be able to apply DLP or data protection on these AI apps, which means the content that is being uploaded to these AI apps will be scanned for sensitive data. If somebody is uploading a contract or a roadmap presentation into these AI apps, you want to be able to stop that. So that is the second type, being able to apply data protection on these. The third one is being able to stop specific activities. I want to block all uploads into AI apps, right? A question that we get asked is, what kind of controls should I apply on ChatGPT? So for this, we have some specific granular controls on ChatGPT, which means you can block the option to train. You can block the chat history option within ChatGPT. You can block the option to share a conversation with somebody else. So these are advanced controls that you can apply on ChatGPT, but it also speaks to the broader controls that security practitioners are looking to apply on AI apps. So those are really some of the key things when it comes to, hey, how do I get visibility? How do I secure the AI usage? Now, the question is, AI apps is one part of it, right? Cloud security is a much broader topic, and there's a whole other number of apps that are being used within the enterprises. What are some of the key use cases that you think of when you think about securing your cloud traffic? I've highlighted some of the big hits here in terms of the biggest cloud security use cases, right? The first one is data protection. This is what we hear the most. Being able to scan for data going up to the cloud. Right? And it doesn't just mean applying simple data identifiers. That's of course that's table stakes. Everyone's doing it. But it also means being able to scan for collaboration controls. if there is a file that's sitting on my SharePoint, I want to block if somebody's sharing it with a personal email. Right? That's one. The second one is being able to apply advanced controls like EDM, IDM, OCR. All of these are advanced data protection controls. And the last point with data protection is you want to be able to apply these on any apps in a consistent fashion. That means whether it's a sanctioned corporate app like Office 365, whether it's a shadow app like Gmail, or a private app for that matter, like Jira. Right? You want to be able to consistently apply data protection policies. That is the first one. Next is activity controls. I want to allow the usage of the app, but I want to block specific activities. I want to block uploads. Now, one of our customers has deployed a policy that says, I want to allow my employees to access LinkedIn, but I don't want them to be uploading any data. The moment they try to upload, we're going to stop it. That's just a simple example. There's so much more you can do. Another use case that we are hearing increasingly is device-based controls. So how enterprises deal with traffic coming from unmanaged devices has got multiple different flavors in which different companies deal with it. We had a customer of ours who came to us and said, I want to be able to secure Salesforce Marketing Cloud. And what I want to do is, if somebody's accessing this from a personal device, I want to block it. And if they're accessing it from a corporate device, I want to allow it. This is the simplest version of the policy, and we enabled it for them. We did it for them, and it worked, right? But after a little while, they came back to us and said, hey, we want to keep our employees productive. And so that means we want to allow traffic coming from unmanaged devices, but we want to apply specific controls. If they're accessing from a personal device, then I want to block downloads, I want to block copy-paste, and I want to block print. Right? These are now more granular capabilities. So we were able to make this work using a combination of our proxy and RBI capabilities. We were able to enforce these controls. Right? So customers think about unmanaged or personal device traffic in multiple ways, and we are able to support whatever level of control that you want to apply. The next one is UEBA and threats. Now, there are two parts to this. First is, I want to understand what my employees are doing on, say, Salesforce. Who's logging in, who's uploading, who's downloading, from which country, which location, which IP, so on and so forth. That's basic, right? And that's threat investigation, which I'm sure all security practitioners do. But it's also being able to identify these activities not just from your corporate apps, but across all apps. Right? So if an employee is downloading a file from Salesforce and then uploading it into Gmail, that's activities occurring across different apps. Your security solution should be able to identify, you should be able to identify, and you should be able to block these things. Or within Skyhigh, we're able to highlight a threat associated with data exfiltration. You can do, other threats are insider threats, you can do compromised accounts, or privileged access misuse. These are some of the threats we are able to identify based on activities not just within one app, but across your sanctioned corporate apps, your shadow apps, or sanctioned or shadow apps. And that's important because there's only so much you can do from an investigation standpoint. The other one is user risk. Now, not all users are equally risky. Some are riskier than the others. So we're able to calculate user risk based on number of attributes like policy violations, threats, anomalies, but also some of their cloud access patterns. If this person is accessing high-risk cloud services, if this person is uploading like a whole bunch of data into high-risk cloud applications. So this user risk is calculated using a number of parameters from across the portfolio. So we calculate this, but we also allow you to enforce policies based on user risk, which means if a policy violation is done by a high-risk user, then that creates an incident of a higher severity than a policy violation done by, say, a medium or a low-risk users. Which means, in the world of a SOC administrator, that incident bumps up in priority, which is as it should be. So this kind of policy enforcement you can apply based on user risk. Connected apps is the ability to identify which apps are connected to your sanctioned cloud instances. So a good example is, if Evernote is a blocked app within your company, and That means your employee should not be able to go to a Microsoft Marketplace and then add the Evernote plugin to your Exchange, right? It's easily doable, by the way. Just a few clicks and you can do this. It's really simple. But if you're not allowing Evernote within the company, then that should not happen. Connected apps is where we give you visibility into third-party apps which are connected via OAuth into your sanctioned Office or Google or your sanctioned cloud instance. This way you can identify them, and if it's not in accordance with your governance policies, you should be able to block them. Right? The next one is SSPM, or configuration audit. Now, this used to be mostly on AWS and Azure, but this is also important for SaaS apps. The ability to identify misconfigurations and to be able to fix these misconfigurations. And then, finally, there's tenant restrictions. So, this is being able to identify a personal versus a corporate instance of a service. Now, for example, if somebody is using, if I download a sensitive document from my SharePoint, my corporate SharePoint, and then I upload it into my personal OneDrive, then we should not be allowing that. That is what tenant restrictions means. And one of our customers gave a great example with respect to the usage of Copilot. So they said that we are able to monitor the use of Copilot based on whether our employee is coming from a corporate account or a personal account. If they're accessing from the corporate company account, then we allow access to Copilot. If it's a personal account, then we block it. Right? So they're using the Skyhigh policies in conjunction with the conditional access on Microsoft. So that's the ability to identify the tenant instances. That's another use case. So I know I've given you like a lot of use cases, and some of these may not be relevant to you today. But what we've seen with our customers is it's not just customers' use cases evolve with time. Right? Today, some of these may be important, but others may become relevant in the near future. So as you're looking at your cloud security, you want to think of the broader spectrum of use cases and choose a solution that is able to handle all of these use cases. And while you're thinking about choosing a cloud security or deploying a cloud security solution, you also want to think of a solution that's able to deploy in multiple modes, right? There's API, there's proxy, there's reverse proxy. It's, without getting into too much technical detail, the benefit is if you have multiple deployment modes, then you're able to solve a greater degree all of the use cases we talked about in the earlier slide, right? And the reason is not all cloud apps are the same. Some apps have APIs, some apps don't. Some apps are accessed via SAML, some apps are directly accessed, and some are accessed from your personal device, some from the corporate device. So the modalities of access of cloud applications vary significantly, and you want a solution that's able to deploy in multiple modes so that your security use cases are addressed, right? And then I do want to make a mention. So when you think of Skyhigh Security, we are a leading SSE vendor, and we have a portfolio of products for which we have a large install base of enterprise customers. The key products are our secure web gateway, CASB, and private access, also CNAP, firewall, and endpoint DLP. The point I want to make here is that these solutions are sitting on a robust platform. So it means that there are shared services which are equally accessible to all of these products. Let's take the example of DLP policies. A DLP policy applied on a corporate app like SharePoint should also be able to you should be able to extend it to a shadow app like Gmail or a private app like Jira. You shouldn't have to go into another console, write another policy, and then if there is a violation, you're going to again have to look at the incidents in two separate consoles. The ability to log in from a single console and be able to use a consistent set of workflows, consistent user experience is really important for those security teams, those customers which are trying to do a lot with a small number of people, right? A lot of our customers are saying the same thing. We have a small team. We are trying to do so many things. Please don't make me log into another console and learn another feature and learn another workflow, right? Consistency is important, and that's where the platform comes into play, right? Whether it's RBI, whether it's UEBA, or data protection, DLP policies, they are equally and consistently applicable across our portfolio of products. And so that is also something that you want to think about when you're looking at a cloud security solution. In fact, Gartner has, in this recent report, said that most of the customers going forward will be looking at a single vendor for their secure web gateway and CASB and private access solution. And it makes sense. The reason they say that is because the unified platform gives a force multiplier effect. The system is able to look across different products, across an increased number of data points, and highlight threats that otherwise it would not be able to highlight, right? So that is the platform, and that is what we have invested significantly in being able to provide to our customers, right? And I do want to mention, I know Paul talked about it, our sister company, Trellix, we have integration with them on a number of use cases. Like, for example, unified policy and incident management, whether it's you can set a policy in Trellix EPO, it gets synced to Skyhigh, it gets enforced, and if there is an incident, it gets synced back to Trellix EPO, which means you can work off of just Trellix EPO. We facilitate that. There's also malware and sandboxing, so we can send the payload to Trellix IVX and enforce policy, and then we can also send incidents and anomalies and threats to Trellix for further investigation. So that brings me to the end of my presentation.